From Vermont is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be honest that many parts of this hearing have been extremely difficult to listen to. My grandfather, Leopold Balint, was murdered in the Holocaust, and my family has warned me my entire adult life that anti-Semitism is always lurking just below the surface. And we are seeing that today in stark relief in this nation, but also around the world. And so it's been personally difficult for me to sit through this, that here we are again. Here we are again. And I also had to pick my jaw off the floor when one of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle bemoaned the use of dehumanizing language on college campuses, because I have not forgotten what was said in a fear-mongering hearing on the dangers of trans Americans, right here in this committee. It was a hearing full of dehumanizing language. It made me sick, and as the only member of the LGBTQ community on this committee, I've not forgotten. Now, it's been a long hearing, so I'm gonna just cut to the chase here. In these situations, it's best to just follow the money. Not the rhetoric, not the messaging, not the talking points, just follow the money. So, there is a clear policy solution to combating the rise of anti-Semitism and other abhorrent discrimination on college campuses, and that is to fully fund the Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights. Budgets, when you are in government, budgets are a statement of your values. How we spend money demonstrates what we really care about. And we should care about the rise in hateful speech and dehumanizing language in America generally, and specifically, as is the topic of this hearing, on college and university campuses. Fear-mongering and hateful speech isn't just destroying our communities, it's actually tearing this nation apart. And so we all have a part in that as well, all of us in Congress. So we can point fingers at college campuses, we can point fingers at what's happening in our elementary schools, but I would also say we have a part in that too, in putting an end to it. Now, it's my understanding that the Office of Civil Rights has already had a reported dramatic increase in Title VI discrimination claims in the wake of the terrorist attack on October 7th. Yet many of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have proposed a significant funding cut to OCR. The Office of Civil Rights is one of the largest federal civil rights agencies in the country. It has over 500 staff who serve as attorneys, investigators, support staff. So it's been underfunded for years. And when it's underfunded, people who have cases, people who have claims, the staff's not there to do the investigation, to do the follow-up. So I would ask us to put our money where we say our values are. Now, a cut that has been proposed to the tune of reducing from $131 million to $105 million, that is a significant cut. It will have a detrimental impact on the ability of OCR to do its vital work. So again, I urge us all, follow the money. It seems like we are in a lot of agreement here on the things that are making us very uncomfortable. The antidote to speech we don't like is more speech. It's not shouting people down. It's not talking louder. It's not dehumanizing language. It is engaging in meaningful conversations when we have disagreements. It's that simple. So let's fund the office that is dedicated to making sure we're dealing with discrimination on college campuses. So I have 33 seconds. In that time, Ms. Burdett, can you just tell me what would be the ramifications if we were to cut from $131 million down to 105? Just really quickly, just give us a list of what's going to happen if that happens.
We know that when hate crime victims and students like these have no place to call, of course, that's a secondary victimization. It means the law enforcement can't respond to you. It means you have no recourse. Why would we take that away? If we are having a hearing, this isn't the PTA that has other tools. This is the House Judiciary Committee, where I think we should look at what are the tools available. And we know where we have data about hate, and the Civil Rights, Office of Civil Rights does data collection on what's happening in schools. Data, government's not a university. We collect data because when we know what's happening, we can intervene. We can put resources there. And if we're not here to talk about how the federal government can make my boy safer, then we could be at a PTA meeting or at another kind of organization meeting. And so the budget is a moral document. And I'm even saying it's not enough to have investigators. Can we please invest in interrupting it before it happens? Not a single family of a victim of the Tree of Life shooting feels better that someone was punished. They'd rather have their brother back.
Thank you so much. I yield back.
The lady yields back. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized for 5 minutes. We have 30 more minutes, if that's good. And like I said, if anyone needs a break, feel free to take a break.
Mr.
Marcus?
Chairman, I might take you up on that generous
Sure,
offer.
go right ahead.
Short
Go
break.
right ahead. Gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
Well, it's a good time for Mr. Marcus to leave because I didn't have any questions for you, so go ahead. That's fine. Thank you, Mr. Chair. University of Wisconsin system, of which is located in my home state, has been quite a hotbed for campus free speech issues over the years. Some in this room may remember in 2016 when protesters blocked conservative commentator Ben Shapiro from taking the stage at Young Americans for Freedom event. That was on the campus at UW-Madison. And similarly, when very conservative speaker Matt Walsh came to Madison last year, there were protesters, and those protesters vandalized the student union and the alumni park. According to a freedom of speech survey conducted by the UW system itself in 2022, over 14% of UW-Madison students believed it was acceptable to disrupt invited speakers whose messages they didn't agree with. I think this is unacceptable, and universities across the country, I think, should be doing more to foster an environment that welcomes kind of an honest discussion and debate. I think there's muscle memory that should happen here, so when we end up in a position where we have elevated and expanded demonstrations, that universities know how to handle those and do it in a responsible way to keep everyone safe. There is a bill, one of my colleagues, Congressman Greg Murphy, has authored it, Campus Free Speech Restoration Act, which requires universities to report First Amendment violations to the Department of Education. The bill, I think, would provide a much-needed check on some of the federally funded institutions, and I'm certainly hoping that this Congress could move swiftly on it. What I wanted to do was just first ask the students that are with us this afternoon to just, are there any examples of a similar situation that may have happened on your campus where a speaker was invited and then they were shouted down or not allowed to actually deliver their full remarks? Ms. Silverstein, you might go first.
Thank you, Congressman. Regarding the specific issue of anti-Semitism, I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure that there have been speakers in the past who were not invited or accepted onto campus for their beliefs, but I cannot specifically speak to that.
Ms. Jordan?
Thank you for your question. None of our speakers have been shouted down, but similar situation when we hosted Matt Walsh. The protesters were like right outside the venue, and they couldn't enter because most of them had signs. And so they blocked the streets. People had a really hard time driving home, getting out. And then we recently hosted Chloe Cole on campus, and the protesters like blockaded the building so people could not get in or out of the building. My best friend could not get to her class, which is really disappointing. It's like they ask us, like the university, they're like, okay, do you want police at this event? And we're like, sure. But it's like not enough to have the police. Like, we need to ensure that all students feel safe and are able to, access the building. That shouldn't have to be something that's in question. And also another thing I've noticed is that left-leaning students don't need all this police, all this security at their events. It's like, why do we get so viciously attacked for what we do?
Very good. Mr. Ogrzak?
Yes, when we hosted Michael Knowles, there was a protest of about 800 to 1,000 community members and students outside. This did foster a pretty intimidating environment for the attendees who were waiting to enter. Fortunately, Mr. Knowles was able to speak. However, when we hosted Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, the second half of that event had opened up to a question and answer session, allowing anyone in the audience to pose a question respectfully if they would like to. However, instead of moving forward with that, the protesters that were in attendance began to shout from their seats. Power to both the speakers and microphones were cut, and this did end our session.
Thank you all for being here. I think it's an important part of this hearing today. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from New Jersey, Mr. Van Drew, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I want to thank the three of you. These three students, their bravery, their strength, their honesty, their courage. It is not easy to be a conservative on a college campus today. And yet you stand strong, and I swear to God, you're my heroes today. I really, really am proud of you. I know that many of our members are. Thank you for being here. I'm pro-Israel. I'm unabashedly pro-Israel. I'm pro-Israel because they are our partners. They are a force of civilization. They are a nation that since its founding has gone through hell, and yet they still prevail. So I'm pro-Israel, and you can check me out. You can see anything I've ever written, anything I've ever said I believed in, everything I've ever voted for, every speech I've ever given. I am pro-Israel. Yet I still believe that we shouldn't use these words to try to say, well, if you believe that George Soros is involved in our local elections, because he is, if you believe that he is funding prosecutors and local officials that have a different vision for America than most Americans do, he is, that doesn't make me racist. It doesn't mean that I'm wrong. It means it's my opinion. It's what I believe. But what we do now is we use these catchwords. Globalism. I'm going to tell you what globalism is. Maybe there's some people who are bad people that use it. I was at an event recently and I spoke, and this has happened to me numerous times. I talked about Americanism, American exceptionalism, and how we are the shining city on the hill. Damn it, I believe that. And I know the three of you do too. We are a special place. Without us, the world will go into chaos. Are we perfect? No. Globalism says, and this is a theory that's put forth by a lot. When I was at the event, some people came to me because I spoke about all those things, and they said, you're wrong. America's like any other place in the world. They said, we don't believe in Americanism. We don't believe in American exceptionalism. I disagree with them. That doesn't make me racist. It means that I can use the word globalism. I can't help if there's a bad person that uses that word. I still think it's a real issue and a real challenge. So, Dr. Nadel, I'm going to ask you one thing, and I would just like a yes or no answer, and I'm sorry to do that to you, but we're so time constricted. Do you believe in American exceptionalism?
I believe that there is an idea of American exceptionalism that has been upheld by scholars.
Ma'am, I appreciate
I can't answer.
You can't answer that you believe in American exceptionalism. Okay, that's good. Ms. Burdett, do you believe in American exceptionalism? Please, yes or no?
I don't find the question relevant to this hearing.
It is very relevant. It's relevant to what's happening on college campuses, but I thank you. Gosh, I have a tough time with you. Ogryziak, do you believe in American exceptionalism? Yes or no?
Unequivocally, yes, I do.
Ms. Jordan, do you believe in American?
Undoubtedly, yes, I do.
Thank you. Ms. Silverstein, do you believe in American exceptionalism?
I do.
These are great young people. You have the courage to tell the truth and give an answer. So I want to thank you. I just want to talk about some of my personal experiences real quick, and I'm running out of time. Condoleezza Rice, some people may remember her. It was back, she was a national security advisor, the highest ranking African-American in history at that time, and of the federal executive branch, and she was supposed to speak at my alma mater, Rutgers University, a great school. I was pre-med, pre-dent, and, got a great education. But boy, if you had a different opinion even back then, and this is not, I'm further back than that, and I watched in dismay as the professors at my alma mater led the charge opposing her appearance because they didn't want to hear another opinion. Every student at Rutgers, regardless of their political stance, liberal, conservative, socialist, libertarian, Democrat, Republican, man, it's an exchange of ideas. It's the marketplace of ideas. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do.
Ms. Jordan, do you agree with
Yes,
that?
I do.
Ms. Silverstein.
Yes, I do.
And you know why? I'm going to wrap up with this. You know why we don't want to fund DEI? You know why we're concerned about the Office of Civil Rights? Because they don't protect their rights. They, now recently they're starting to talk about the Jewish issue more, but basically it was just certain groups, certain left-wing groups, certain groups that were in, it was in vogue to protect certain groups. But damn it, it's not in vogue to protect conservatives. They don't have the same opportunity in their university experience that every single other person does. That is wrong, it's un-American, and that's why it doesn't get funded. Bad things happen when you do bad things, and that's bad. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Mr. Marcus, do you believe in American exceptionalism?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry
Yes,
I
I
skipped
do.
you. I'm sorry.
Yes, I do.
Didn't want you left out, and I figured that was you. I figured you respond. No, it's a great line of questioning. I appreciate it. The gentleman from Alabama is recognized, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank all the witnesses for being here today. I'm certainly proud of my alma mater. It's Auburn University, and recently been ranked one of the top colleges in the country that advocates for free speech and robust debate. Unfortunately, that is not the case throughout many campuses across the country. With shout downs and immediate conservative voices, the heckler's veto, if you will, has the adverse effect of what the First Amendment is supposed to support. Some extreme groups use this silencing method under the guise of tolerance, yet their definition of tolerance is ironically not tolerant at all. The heckler's veto effectively silences the speech and messages through fear and disinformation, or intimidation, I should say. 56% of the students across the nation fear stating their views would put them in harm's way. Actually, and even my nephew, he went to Auburn, and there were times in classrooms, he was afraid to speak out because he knew that it would affect his grade. Y'all experience that? Have you experienced that, Ms. Silverstein? And then I'll go down the line with the students.
So I am a business major, so I personally have not experienced that, but many of my friends have.
Ms. Jordan, any of your friends, do you experience that?
I know my friends have experienced it, and then personally, first day of class, they always ask us to say our pronouns. I'm the only student usually who doesn't say any pronouns because it's unnecessary. And then just in general in class, they, often just have discussions that more people support liberal viewpoints. And sometimes I do get that, my heart starts beating fast, and I'm like, should I say something? Should I not? Because a lot of students just know my face. I'm one of the only black conservatives on campus. So it's kind of hard just, making friends, talking to people, because once they find out you're conservative, they ostracize you.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine, because I know I can't keep my mouth shut sometimes, so I couldn't imagine being in a classroom nowadays, being a conservative, and actually having to say something maybe contradictory to what the professor might be saying. Mr. O, you had that experience as well?
Similarly to Ms. Silverstein, just based on my major, those topics were often left out of the classroom. I can't vouch for my political science friends and say that they were not so lucky.
So in these conservative universities, General Schwarzkopf said about Auburn University, he said, I send my sons to West Point and my daughters to Auburn. And I've noticed, my son, he's at Auburn now. He's building science major, so he's like you, Ms. Jordan, or I guess Ms. Silverstein, who don't have the issue of politics does not come up often in the classroom. But to me, my son's roommates are from New York now. His buddies are from New York and Arizona. They're coming to these universities where they feel they have a right to have an opposing viewpoint and actually speak up. So first, Ms. Silverstein, I have a question for you. How has your life been affected by the threatening rhetoric of these activist groups on Cornell's campus?
Every day when I walk outside, I question what I do. I question how I appear. I question what I say out of fear that someone might hear me who disagrees, or who disagrees with my very existence and could threaten me with any actions. I'm, as the chairman mentioned, I'm on the Chabad board for my university, and I go to Shabbat dinner every Friday night, and I'm scared to walk outside. I'm scared to walk alone without police protecting us.
Superstein, let me say this. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Genesis 12:3 says, if you'll bless Israel, you'll be blessed. And if you curse Israel, you'll be cursed. And so, you know, Judeo-Christian values, we understand Jesus was Jewish, but that we want to rally behind the Jewish nation and the nation of Israel. And I was over there recently traveling, and the thing that I noticed about the nation of Israel is most of their weapons are defensive weapons, whether it's reactive armor on their tanks or the Iron Dome or their Iron Beam. Those are all weapons to push back against attacks. And so they are a people. They're a peaceful people. And so I just want you to know that as a Christian, we certainly support the nation of Israel. And it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Just remind all your Christian friends. And so, Ms. Jordan, have you had opportunities, like, do you feel sometime intimidated on your campus? Does it feel like maybe that you couldn't stand up? I guess you had to stand up and not say your pronouns? Is that that is so weird to me. As old as I am, I guess, Mr. Chairman, but I never had that. So tell me about some experiences.
Yeah, so for me, with the pronoun thing, I just, say my name, hometown, all
Everybody
that.
look at you when you stand up and don't say your pronoun?
Typically not. I don't know if people notice, like, as a mental thing or not. I kind of hope they don't. But yeah, with my experiences, I guess, could you repeat the question again?
So have you had an opportunity or an experience where you felt maybe intimidated by other students? Like Ms. Silberstein says, she's a little bit nervous sometime now going to certain events. And
Yes, so the second time that I was doxxed, my photo and name, along with several of our other...
What's doxxed for us old people?
Yes, so it is when your personal information is released. So the first time I was doxxed in that 800-person group chat, my Instagram profile was screenshotted and sent to all those people. It had my name, personal information, things like that. The second time is a screenshot from a group chat, and it had my name and photo along with several other YAF members' names and photos. And so this was printed out and put all around downtown Iowa City and campus. And on my birthday, me and some YAF members were walking downtown to get frozen yogurt to celebrate. And this girl walks right by us, don't think anything of it. Out of nowhere, she starts screaming her head off, and she's like, F you, you don't belong here, get out of Iowa City, we don't like your people, stuff
the tolerant
like that.
left, as we call them.
Yeah. Very
Mr. Chairman, sorry, Mr. O, I didn't get to this. Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back.